There's know where those black dots are, and I just gated them. So maybe that's got something to do while they're there. But for us, they are there for a reason. The twin one gives me a whole octave. Right, I'm going a bit off track here, but bear with me. If this is a G with the two dots, right, on the side of the banjo, being one octave higher than this, then octi in Latin means 8. Why is it on the 12th fret? Answers? Anybody?
Sharps notes.
Semitones, exactly, of which there are 4 to make up the correct scale length. And so they don't work very well below that, because they're not really there for any other reason. One on the 7th fret to tell me where my D is if I bar it, or where my A is if I play a close chord. Right. And one here to tell me where my C is, okie dokie, if I play the closed chord, or if I bar it, F. That's why they're there, but don't pay too much attention to them. The only reason you really need to pay attention to them is so that you get your hand in proximity ready, okay? You don't overshoot or you don't undershoot. They're good for that. So all in all, yeah, just carry on the way you're going. Get this little finger of yours stronger, and get yourself in tune with playing some chords up the neck with your capo on the 2nd fret only. All right?
Yeah.
Tony, yours was melody.
Yeah, it was just you know, you've answered the question really, saying that if you roll it on your breaks, you kind of fit the roll around the melody sometimes.
Right. Okay, we're going to try and convince the brain that we're playing the tune, right? It is a trick in bluegrass music. I'll try and find something else for... Oh yeah, we'll do Georgia Rose, you know that one? So, in G, yeah. I'll play Georgia Rose, okay, in G, and I won't play the melody, but your brain might think I am. Well, come and listen to my story, a story that I know is true, about a rose bloomed down in Georgia, with hair of gold and a heart so true. Way down in the British Mountain, way down where the tall pines grow, lives my sweetheart of the mountain. Yeah, she's my little Georgia Rose. Okay, so you can hear a modicum of that coming out, and that's what you need to do really, using licks. So what sort of licks shall we learn, lads? Bluegrass style licks, bit of melodics?
So my thing about the licks was, and just to explain that, I spent a year learning a tune, right, and then I noticed after this, well, another year trying to sing to it as well, which took 2 years. And then I noticed that it was just a big list of licks that were all joined together. And it was just like somebody switched the light on. And I thought, I went like for 2 years looking around for other stuff that I was playing. And the funny thing was, there was loads of different licks out there that everybody else knew except me. So is there like a top 5 that you hear all the time? Because I only recognised like 3 of them. And I do know, you know, you've played one as the second one that we filmed earlier. Like the Earls G lick that's in everything, but if you get like 3 or 4 or 5 of them down, it opens up a massive stack of songs, doesn't it?
It opens up nearly all of them, and there are important ones, yes there are. For example, some fit more than one chord, funnily enough. This is an important lick for me and most bluegrass players. It's 3 rows of 3 notes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, but Earl uses it a lot. Especially when Lester's finished singing and he's waiting for him to bring the next verse in. Like he might go, da-dee, 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 da. I'm going to have a rest here. And now I'm going to sing again. Earl would do this. Da-dee, 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 da.
Just a quick one, Joe. Could you, everybody, please, when you've finished, Can you bring your chairs down with you? Because we need them for the next thing.
Makers.
That's it, yeah.
Get back to your fiddle workshop.
Yeah. Tell him, Joe, tell him. Tell him. You can always come up here and be the wicker man. Of course, mate, of
Do I
course.
look like Edward Woodward?
No. For a moment there.
I'll go on.
Oh, yeah. All right, Nigel. No problems, Nigel. Consider it done. Yeah. I don't know how we're doing for time. I tend to wrap it on a bit.
12:43.
So anyway, this is an important one. I'm sorry if this has been a little bit fragmented. Workshops tend to be like that. Me and Bill Foster, again, on the philosophy of teaching, went to Bill Keith's classes many years ago. Rest Bill in peace. And Bill said, Bill Keith, if I rattle on for 2 hours and 1/3 of it goes home, then I've been a good teacher. And I think there's a bit of truth in that musically, because it does fracture your brain. You think, what's he going on about now? And I'll give you a quick example of that. When we broke for dinner at Coventry all those years ago, when we were young, long-haired, smoking banjo players, Bill Keith was at the front in our presence, we went for lunch. And we were walking down to the hotel to get a meal, and Bill Hyde, rest his soul, old friend of mine, and most banjo players at that time, said to me, "Did you get any of that?" And I went, "No." And he goes, "Bill, Joe didn't get any of that at all." And that's true. And Bill went through it over my lunch. I'll never forget Bill Hyde for that. But that's what happens with banjo teachers. They ramble on a bit, so I hope you don't mind anyway. This lick is important. Everybody know that lick, yeah? This lick is a good one. Old Joe Clarke. See that lick there? Lead you right into C. Well, how good is that then, eh? Easy, easy peasy. Same as this lick out of Old Joe Clarke. Sorry. Okay, and then we can go to D with it. You don't have to go there. Sorry. Sorry. Or C. It's a bad example, that one. But that's a good example. Put it on. Put this one after it. And then there's this one, which is another Earl lick, which is just 2 hammers. So, you know?
Love it.
See that? It's going on there.
So just to tell everybody, if you take my details or I get yours, I'll put these, I'll chop it up and put it on YouTube, give you the links, which just makes it far easier to just put a tiny little.
Can we bring the chairs down?
No, don't.
Alright, we'll leave them here then. That was easy.
Leala and Jerry are on stage at 1 o'clock, you see. So we don't
Oh yeah.
don't want a load of chairs all clumbering through.
We'll finish off.
When you finish,
No, yeah,
nice and sharp, come down.
yeah.
and
We're about there,
come
Brian.
down.
We're about there. 5 minutes will be done. Yeah, so that's that. Now when you get into C, C's fairly easy because there's a C here, look. Well, I just get these 2 fingers and play the first and the second string. Okay, so watch. So I'm going to play C there, forward, backward roll, and then I'm going to slide it to there, forward, backward roll, and then this lick. So now I can go Old Joe Clarke, that one, and drop the C, and go up there, and there, back out there. And then I can drop down to Old Joe Clarke again, then finish off. Okay, the reason I can do that is because that note there is a D note, and so is the first string. So I can drop to D and play 2 1s, and I'm now in D. So I can go here with this lick and finish on G, or I can drop it to D if I drop it to D, I can come out. Cabin in the hills of Caroline, or cabin in the... Okay, so now watch this. That's about what we've done today, yeah? There's a nice little break there for everybody.
Easy.
So I'm just going to... Yes, mate, sorry.
One break that you're hearing, and I think I've got it, but it's like after you do the G run, there's like a little tag, and it goes.
That one. Oh yeah. Well, this. That. I'm playing 1-5-1. I'm going 2 first strings. Just 2 first strings. Oh no. It's just 2 open. No, it's not that. It's not that.
Okay.
It's just 2 open first strings.
Okay.
And then slide up the second.
I hear it all the time after that G lick.
Yes, you could. Yes, because this is a standard. That's a Foggy Mountain lick, which is also used as an ending. But that's a whole different modicum. What we're going to do is we're going to play 2 ones, and then slide up the second string, a la old Joe Clarke. Yeah. So we're just adding 2 first strings. So then a brief outline of it all. Look, I'm going to play a slower version of Little Sweet Georgia Rose using the chords. I haven't even mentioned the dreaded chop today. Everybody's avoided. That's great, isn't it, not to do that? Bore yourself to death. And I'm going to play the lower inverted chords while Pete sings it or pretends to sing it with me, and then the high chords as if I've changed it just for texture behind another verse of the song, and then this little solo, and we'll go home on the ending. Will that be alright?
Yeah.
Okay. So which one do you prefer to do? No, we've only got 2 songs, haven't we? Yeah. In all these years, we've only got 2 songs. We'll do Cabin in the Pines. There's a cabin in the pines in the hills of Caroline, and a blue-eyed girl who's waiting there for me. Someday she'll be my wife and live a happy life. The cabin in the hills of Caroline. Oh, the cabin in the shadow of the pine, and a blue-eyed going down in Caroline. Someday she'll be my wife and we'll live a happy life. Cabin in the hills of Caroline. And when it's late at night and the stars not too fast. No faster, please. That's about all of it. And that'll cover 3,000 bluegrass tunes and songs. And I'm not being nasty there, it will. It's a way in. Excuse me, the heart's biting a bit. It's a way in, alright? It's a good way in. I've got a little treat for you before we go now. Anybody know about Drinky Drinking? Tom does. Anybody else? Well, here it is. Would you like to know that lick? Yes. Okay, we're just going to put a little back. I'm going to do it on the 12th fret. It's one of Earl's specials, and J.D. Crowe uses it all his life. If you want to listen to the best backup accompanying banjo player that the world ever produced, listen to J.D. Crowe on the New South album, doing stuff like 10 degrees and colder down by Boulder Dam today and all of that stuff. It is pure brilliance, and this is a lick he uses it. So we're going to get the the first string finger across the 2 notes of the 12th fret. Strings, I mean 1 and 2. Only strings 1 and 2, and we're not going to play them. Good. So we just got them across there, yeah? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play 2 second strings. Good, already into the realms of brilliance. We've just jumped straight in there. We're going to go downstairs and tell them, aren't we? So 2 second strings, and then a first string. You guys are only. Can we do that? So 2 seconds and a first, please, only. And then add a second string to it. Then get the little pinky. Look, here he is, sitting right there. Hello, Uncle Joe. Hello, little pinky. Right, and we're going to add him. Watch this. Can you do that? Good. Watch this then. We're going to take him back off. Okay, boys, let's do quite a few of them. Look. Okay, stop now. We want to join them together, so we're going to have to add something else. Listen to me, listen. At the end of it, we're going to play 2 first strings, not 1, like this. Yeah, try that. Good, because that leads you straight back into the next row. Watch. Join me, and bump. Stop it there, boys. Just drive it to the 5th fret. Same thing then, ready? Who can tell me what chord we're in now?
Same.
No stopping you, cuz. No stopping you now. 2, 3, uns. Good. Stop. Raise it 2 frets. And for the star prize, D, straight in. You have won 5 years from Brian Dowdall's band. Free of charge. Okay, and you're going to need this slick boy. Okay, here we go. And that's D. 2, 3, and. Okay, we're going to break it off now. We're going to play 4 of each, yeah? 4 Gs, 4 Cs, 4 Ds, and then back to 4 Gs. Are you with me? 2, 3, and. And drop down. And up to D. Back to G. Now do. How cool is that? There's a cabin in the plenty of ideas today. Everybody happy with that workshop? Anybody